By-election polls amid a weak economy and rising food prices may mean a 2023 general election. The contest between the Democrat Party, Thailand's oldest, and the relatively new Palang Pracharat Party in the southern provinces of Chumphon and Songkhla, both working together in government, is bound to raise political tensions. In recent days, Democrat Party leader and Minister of Commerce Jurin Laksanawisit, in Songkhla, described his party as the spirit of democracy in Thailand and warned of equating political strength with wealth, while Palang Pracharat leader, Deputy Prime Minister Prawit Wongsuwan, promised voters in Chumphon a stronger economy, a commitment to the monarchy, and a fight against inequality when he led a high-powered delegation there in the heat of the campaign this week ahead of Sunday's vote. Thailand goes to the polls over the next 2 weeks with 3 by-elections, 2 in southern Thailand on Sunday and 1 in Bangkok on the 30th of January next, being seen as some indicator of the political will of the country. It comes with the COVID-19 emergency on a knife edge, and the economy facing a challenging situation, with raised food and store prices. Most experts agree that, while tension is growing with the coalition, it will complete its term, meaning that a general election is now more likely in early 2023. Right, Minister of Commerce Jurin Laksanawisit campaigning in Songkhla province this week ahead of this Sunday's by-election in the southern province. He told his audience that the Democrat Party, Thailand's oldest political party, represents the spirit of democracy in the kingdom. He declared that political leadership should not be about who is rich and who is not. As Thailand battles its way through Omicron with normally cautious public officials making positive noises, the kingdom is in the midst of a series of by-elections, 2 taking place next Sunday, the 16th of January in the southern provinces of Songkhla and Chumphon. The 3rd by-election in Bangkok's constituency 9 will take place 2 weeks later on Sunday, the 30th of January. The mini-polls are coming as the kingdom's population is increasingly less preoccupied with the COVID-19 virus situation despite a possible Omicron surge, but increasingly concerned instead by a ratcheting up of food prices in the last week, something which has quickly gripped the public's imagination. Food vendors in Bangkok hike prices for dishes as rising food prices bite ordinary people where it hurts. In Bangkok this week, many food vendors marked up the normal price of 80 baht for a food dish to 90 baht, as the real economy copes with yet another challenge. The problem partly stems from a range of price pressures predicted towards the end of last year, including a sharp spike in energy prices, as the world economy picks up steam, inflation in the United States, and a range of supply chain bottlenecks caused by the ongoing virus emergency. Some of these are particularly linked to draconian measures being taken in China, which maintains its uncompromising zero COVID-19 policy. Inflationary fears for Thailand are more muted than in the United States, but planners should prepare. However, the problem this week in Thailand has become more immediate, with an African swine flu outbreak confirmed in the central provinces of Nakhon Pathom and Ratchaburi. African swine flu confirmed in Nakhon Pathom and Ratchaburi, but poses no danger to human health. On Tuesday, this week, the Livestock Development Department of the Ministry of Agriculture confirmed that it was reporting Thailand as a country where the deadly livestock disease had been detected to the World Organization for Animal Health, (OI). It comes as both Latvia and Italy have reported similar outbreaks. African swine flu is a highly contagious and lethal disease that spreads amongst pigs. It does not, however, pose a risk to human health as it cannot be transmitted from pigs to humans. It is also not considered a food safety risk. The confirmation of the outbreak, with 6 farms in Ratchaburi and 2 abattoirs in Nakhon Pathom detecting the disease from blood samples on the 8th of January and 9th, came in the aftermath of a surge in pork prices in wholesale markets around Thailand. Rising pork prices, also caused by small pig farmers getting out of the industry over the past 2 years. The price spike has also been attributed to farmers, especially small landholders, turning their backs on pig rearing over the last 2 years when the pandemic had earlier seen market prices collapse, while higher regulatory standards and feed costs have added to the misery of small pig producers across the kingdom. The price of pork, a key part of local dishes sold at food stalls throughout Thailand, surged from 150 baht per kg to 200 baht during the week. This has come at the same time as rising prices for all foodstuffs within the wholesale system, caused by pressures from last year. This is beginning to translate into higher prices in stores for ordinary Thai people, with many families having already lost a sizable proportion of their income since 2020. 70% of Thai households have lost 40% of their income, revealed a tourism survey this week. It is also coming at a time when the economy is failing to perform and move forward, as the government has adopted a cautious stance in the face of the Omicron virus strain, with uncertainty also in the global market, with fears for both the US and Chinese economies. It will be early 2023 before the economy begins to recover in earnest, says an independent expert this week. Nonrat Bisanabut, a researcher with the Thailand Development Research Institute, TDRI, predicted that it will take at least until the first quarter of 2023 before the economy begins to substantially move forward again. The economy isn't recovering from the pandemic, and it is being pressured by the swine disease outbreak, which has raised the prices of several goods. It's the government's responsibility to help people survive, he said. This is despite the forecasted GDP gain of 3.4% for 2022 by the Bank of Thailand late last year, which was made conditional on no further public health measures being announced in response to the Omicron strain of COVID-19. This week, the bank put its updated position more equivocally when it appeared to confirm that the current inflationary pressures may be transitory, with a forecast for 2022 inflation of 1.7%. Bank of Thailand concerned about the impact of foreign tourism losses on rising unemployed numbers. However, it also warned that it was concerned about the effects on income-deprived workers and labor within the foreign tourism industry and allied sectors, which have again been cut off from their mainstream market by the government's decision to suspend the popular test and go entry regime for visitors on the 21st of December, a move confirmed last week as being indefinite. Top official describes the popular test and go entry as a loophole exposing Thailand to Omicron. The bank, in recent days, warned that a current unemployed labor force may swell from 700,000 to 2 million. It warned that the impact of higher food and store prices may be more disproportionately felt by this segment of the population. Rivalry in the south between Palang Pracharat Party and the Democrat Party, Thailand's oldest, back at the hustings in the by-election campaigns. There are rising tensions within the coalition government, particularly between the ruling Palang Pracharat Party and Thailand's oldest party, the Democrat Party. Currently, the Democrat Party holds the posts of Minister of Agriculture and Minister of Commerce in the government, which are the two government departments in the hot seat over the rising issue of food prices and the African swine flu outbreak, which is taking hold on public thinking. Senior opposition figure says the government will scrape through until 2023, albeit with raised tensions. This week, the Pheu Thai Party MP for Masirakham and the chief whip for the opposition in the House of Representatives, Sutin Klungsang, warned that the rising issue of food prices and inflation may erode further confidence in the government and also increase tension among coalition partners. However, he still forecasts that the government will complete its full term in office, meaning that a general election may be less likely this year. An election must, at the same time, take place before March 2023, meaning that every move by government ministers and every political comment now takes on an increased significance as the political parties get ready to do battle for power. Public confidence is dropping due to the higher cost of living. People may not endure and the government may leave before completing its term. Coalition partners may pressure each other, disrupting the work of Parliament and creating disunity, Mr. Sutin explained. Injustice and freedom also matter, but the cost of living is the factor that can drain public confidence. Palang Pracharat Party has a good track record in by-elections so far. Critics say it has exploited its position. The by-election polls come as the Palang Pracharat Party has had a strong record in winning such contests since 2019 despite anti-government protests in Bangkok. This has been pointed to by government supporters and even objective analysts as indicating that a large proportion of people at a grassroots level in Thailand support the coalition, although polls consistently show 35% to 40% support. Protests rumble on with raised stakes as the virus undermines fragile public confidence even further as fears grow. However, Critics of the government party suggest that the government may have exploited its position in past by-elections to give its candidates the edge. There is also concern that the continued tenure of Prime Minister Prawit Wongsuwan since 2014 has limited the horizon when it comes to political leadership and alternatives. Songkhla family is seen as the opposition, a sign that Thailand's new democracy is not embedded. The Songkhla family is still effectively seen in Thailand as the alternative to the current administration despite the return to democracy in 2019 and the arrival of such parties as the Bangkok Party and the Move Forward Party. This is a sign of a weak democracy, which has not yet been fully embedded into the psyche of the nation. This, of course, is vigorously denied by the Palang Pracharat Party and its leadership. The fragility of the current democratic establishment in the kingdom was in evidence this week, when both the Prime Minister and a spokesman for the Ministry of Defence General Chumphon and Songkhla were forced to clarify the army's neutrality in the upcoming polls. Complaint from the Democrat Party in Chumphon. This came after a complaint was lodged by the Democrat Party last week in Chumphon, which alleged Defence Forces personnel were interfering in preparations for campaigning. The Army Chief, General Narongphanjit Kiwati, ordered the Army Region Commander Lieutenant General Kriangkrai Srilik to launch a probe into the complaint. In Bangkok's Constituency 9, in recent days, there have been suggestions that the population in Army residential areas have been encouraged to vote for a government candidate. This has been countered robustly by top brass who have pledged neutrality, but have also emphasized the idea that Army personnel should also participate in the election, while giving equal access to all parties to make their case to this part of the electorate. Strong Palang Pracharat Party presence in Chumphon, as the ruling party puts its best foot forward. In Chumphon this week, there was a strong Palang Pracharat Party presence, and hectic campaigning in support of its candidate, Mr. Chavalit Arjun, also known as Lawyer Ding. Those campaigning there included the party leader Deputy Prime Minister Prawit Wongsuwan, Deputy Minister of Finance Santi Prompat and the controversial Secretary General of the Palang Pracharat Party, Thamanat Prompao. PM moves against cabal within Palang Pracharat behind failed heave against him. Thamanat out. The party has been campaigning on a platform of upholding the constitution with the king as head of state, strong economic development for the region and a commitment to fighting inequality. The issue of inequality seems to be high on the agenda for all parties. The Palang Pracharat Party is presenting voters with what it sees as a practical platform based on traditional values, and a promise to get things done. Democrat Party leader Jurin presents his party as the spirit of democracy in Thailand, and warns about equating wealth with political power. Campaigning in Songkhla this week, Minister of Commerce Jurin Laksanawisit and Democrat Party leader since 2019, struck a different tone. He underlined the long track record of the Democrat Party. in upholding democracy in Thailand, and not being about any one person. Mr. Jurin emphasized also that his was not just a party led by rich people, where those that earned the most assumed they had the right to lead. The Democratic Party is not an ad hoc political party. The Democratic Party was set up to help the Thai people in the whole country for a long time. Because democracy was not set up to support any one person. A person powerful enough that they are liberated from responsibilities and leave the villagers following behind, he said. Politics must not be simply the pursuit of the rich. He warned that the by-elections were about choosing national representatives, who would sit in the House of Representatives. He called on voters to support what he called the spirit of democracy, and not let politics simply be the pursuit of the rich. If not, he said he feared that the House of Representatives will only become a platform for the rich. The poor will not have the opportunity, the smart person will not have the opportunity. Bangkok by-election in 2 weeks' time is another political struggle caused by the removal of high-profile MP Sira Genjika by the Constitutional Court on the 30th of January in Bangkok. The by-election will be somewhat different, with the Democrat Party withdrawing from the field on a matter of ethics and principle in a strategic move seen as less than helpful to the Palang Pracharat Party. The seat has become vacant after Sira Genjika, The fiery Palang Pracharat Party MP was stripped of his seat by the Constitutional Court last year after it found he had been convicted of fraud in 1995 and therefore was ineligible. Southern MPs jailed for insurrection in 2014. The two other seats in Chumphon and Songkhla were left vacant after its former MPs were jailed in 2021 for their part in the People's Democratic Reform Committee (PDRC) protests in 2014, which led to the coup that year and which the court deemed as insurrection. Both Thawon Senium, a Democrat MP and former Deputy Minister of Transport from 2019 to 2021, and Chumphon Julse, another Democrat Party MP for Chumphon, lost their seats when the Constitutional Court ruled against them in December last year after they were both jailed on the 24th of February last but later bailed. Wife of deposed Bangkok MP Sira campaigns for his job based on his 3 years of service to people. Many observers consider that the government will have less of an advantage in the Bangkok by-election, where the two main candidates are seen as Saranrat Jenjuka, the wife of the deposed MP, and the Pheu Thai Party candidate Seorachart Theenthong, who held the seat in the 2011 general election, and only lost by a margin of fewer than 3,000 votes, or 10% of the poll, to Sira Jenjuka in 2019.